Hey, welcome to a haul video for this week. This is the 4th of July week. Actually, I'm on the 4th of July right now as you're seeing this. This will be posted on Saturday, but I got a haul through the mail from Dr. Skull's Raw Comics. Now, he has been clearing out a bunch of comics lately, putting them on YouTube, going through them, and I picked out 2 lots, and here are the best, in my opinion, of the lots. Now, this only represents about, I'd say, a fourth of what I got, but the other ones, they're mostly like Dennis the Menace, Richie Rich, stuff like that I do like, but it's not like I have to have, you know what I'm saying? I got plenty enough of that. I may never read it, I don't know. Here's some stuff I definitely do want to read, and this is in very, very rough condition, but the reason I pick it out as being the creme de la creme for the week is because, well, it's a very old 2000, I think it was not 2002, issue number 213, I think. Yeah, 213 from 1979. So it's in extremely bad condition, but I think it's worthy of reading and then bagging and straightening out some of the things and hopefully preserving for those who are left after the apocalypse. All right, another one, and a reason I like this particular issue is it's Superman Action Comics from the 50-cent era, so I guess 1980, December 1980, right on the dot, good. It has got some pretty bad places in it that I would be afraid to touch, and then touch my face, I guess. It looks like it's got some water damage, but the overall comic book itself, it's still a good read. I mean, just because there is some definite, obvious damage to it, something that I don't want to just like sit there and sniff on or anything, you know what I'm saying? It's probably dangerous. This is number 514. It also has a backstory with Airwave and the Atom. I love the issues when they started doing these backstories. I'm not exactly sure when they started doing it, but it was definitely the early 80s. It was one of the few ways that we can keep in touch with these characters we would never even hear of otherwise. They weren't on any team. Most of them were forgotten superheroes like the Justice Society. All right, Avengers. Now this is another extremely old one, 25-cent era, so this is nice to be around 1970. Unfortunately, it was stapled right, whoever decided to fix it, 1974. So whoever decided to fix this, instead of stapling it close to the edge, they stapled it right here and right here. So I had to pry out the staples, read it, and then I'll just put it in a comic book bag to preserve it. I don't think it needs staples, so I'll have to remove the staples, which won't be that difficult, and then enjoy it, consume, and put it away. This is a comic book that doesn't have a cover, but it's undeniable that the Superman family from 1977, wow, has some fantastic readings in it. Now, this was a time whenever they were really cutting back on the number of comics put out, but they thought, well, if we put it under the Superman title, it'll sell. And we're putting characters that are related to Superman. That's why they're the Superman family. It's where I think either Lois or Jimmy, somebody's going to correct me no matter what I say. It was basically a continuing numbering of one of their series. I want to say Jimmy Olsen, but then again, I'll probably be wrong. Basically, before this, there were 2 different comic books that kind of merged into one, and they added Supergirl, Crypto, and there's another slot, but I think Nightwing and Flamebird were not in all of them, but they're in quite a few that I got. So I was, Nightbird and, Nightwing and Flamebird are really Superman and Jimmy Olsen. So this was something that I would have, no matter how bad a condition, I would have gotten as a kid and read. And I definitely enjoy reading these in a modern time. They're so much fun to read and to go back through, some alternate universe kind of concepts, like a Batman and Robin of the Candor. This is another one that's just ridiculous. The cover is absolutely ridiculous. Not the condition. Yes, the condition is terrible. 25 cents for 48 pages, which means it is a 1971 comic, surprisingly. It is World's Finest with Superman and Dr. Fate. So World's Finest is usually Superman and Batman, but in this particular one, we have Superman and Dr. Fate. So we got, the ridiculous part is he's got a chain wrapped to him, wrapped around the world. How's that even possible? But hey, it was the 70s. We thought anything was possible back then. There's also some other golden age thrillers, and I think they are reprints. So that's why this one is extremely cool to me. Robot Man from the Earth 2. You will later see him in All-Star Squadron making he's a major character in that. And then something called Ghost Patrol, which I don't know anything about, but this Robot Man is not the Robot Man from the, what is it called? Doom Patrol that I first came to know. This is one that I came to know later when I was reading All-Star Squadron when I was a kid. All right. And then we have Superman, The Death of Clark Kent. Now, this catchy title is not something that caught my eye. The fact that it's a 100th Centennial edition, that's what caught my eye. Centennial, it made it feel like, oh, this is 100 years in the making. No, it's not. It's just number 100, and that number is a pseudo, it's not real. I'm not exactly sure now you think about it, because it was not that DC Comics started 100 years ago. I don't know, maybe it is. I need to look into this a little bit more before I really make up my decisions. I just know that I do have quite a few editions of 100 issues, or the number 100 from this era. I have a Wonder Woman and a few others, and they had a holographic cover. So I may have this in a holographic cover, but another version of it is, welcome, and it is actually in very good conditions. This is not one of the ratty ones. There are some places on it that most people would go, how dare they? I don't have any problem with this. I only have a problem with things that smell, and unfortunately a lot of these do have that odor that I particularly don't like, but as long as I'm reading it in a well-ventilated room like this kitchen, I shall be fine. Or outside if it wasn't so bloody hot right now. All right, Captain America. Now, I have not read many Captain America comics. I used to read them back in the 80s, and I just this is a good period for Captain America as far as I'm concerned. And I was more of an Avengers reader, so I did like to read whenever he would team up with other people. Now, the Terminus Factor, part 1 of 5. Oh, okay, that's even more important, because I do have some of the Terminus Factor issues. So now I just need to patch them together and get the full story. So this is 1 of 5. All right. So that's something I need to find out what I'm missing from that. And I can go ahead and read this one since it's part 1. I just hate to jump in the middle of the arc. All right. This is something of interest to me as well. Now, back in the 90s, there were comic books by DC called quarterlies. I'm not sure if this was Marvel's answer to it. I don't know why they didn't just add 4 more pages and go make it 100 big pages. Why they stick to 96 pages, I can't even understand. But I'm not disappointed. It's fascinating that they would put 96 pages together. I think, and I'm not sure. I have no idea. I'm just speculating here. I'm just completely speculating. My speculation is that this was their attempt to get comic books. Now, here's where I have to back off for a second. I know for a fact that I went to Walmart to get a lot of my comic books back in the 90s. We did not have a comic book shop in my area. I would go once in a while on the weekends to Winston-Salem, to a little comic book shop right there at the Toys R Us shopping center. It was like Toys R Us, and it was right there. Toys R Us was right here, this was here, and the mall was over there, Haynes Mall. So I think, I don't know if it was named this at the time, but I think it's in the same place that Selfish is in. So I don't know. I just remember that that's where I got my comic books on the weekends occasionally. But other than that, I would go to Walmart, during the week to see if they had any new comic books out. And I think this is one of their attempts to get into markets that normally don't sell comic books. All right, so back then comic books were available in more places because there was not really a lot of local comic book shops. I wish that was true now, because we don't have a comic book shop within a 50-mile radius of me, basically. There's nothing in my county at all for comic books except maybe the 1 or 2 you'll see at thrift stores. And they're not cheap. People at thrift stores think that their comic books are made of gold. I found stuff that you would find in the dollar bin. It's charging they're like, oh, $5. No, I'll just save up for a rainy day and go down to Myrtle Beach and get me some comics. So inside of this one, we have Fantastic Four, and we have Daredevil, Iron Man, and the Incredible Hulk. And my suspicion is these are reprints. I have not done any more research on this. I guess I could have done some more research and done a better thing of this, but we'll do some more when we go back and read these and give a quiet review over them. I do feel like I've read, when I saw this right here, I feel like I've read something with that in it, but maybe it was just kind of similar panel, like the Christmas one. Anyway, I think that he was by himself then. Here's another Spider-Man, or another, sorry, magazine. This one is a Spider-Man magazine. This one was Marvel's Superheroes magazine, Spider-Man magazine. Now this one is focused on Spider-Man characters, obviously. Black Cat, Spidey, and the High-Flying Human Torch. So that's probably from a team-up. Then the Green Goblin. So we got, definitely looks like older art in there. I couldn't find, when I was looking through it in my original unboxing, anything that says reprinted from something, something, something. But I did see years on here, like 1964, 72, 82, and 94, which obviously this is published in 94. Like I said, this was published during a time that I think they're really trying to get into every market and not able to, well, I think this was sold to, like, say, Kmart or Walmart at the time. I don't know if Target even existed back in the 90s. We didn't have anyone near me. Actually, the first Target I ever heard of was when I was working at Farmore when I was in college, so I have no clue now. All right, so like I said, I think this was their attempt to get into markets that didn't sell like weeklies, but did sell like the more bigger titles. Now, the Awesome Slapstick came in its own binder, so I feel like it's one of the safer comics to read. Number 2 of 4, so I don't know much about this, but it looks funny. So most likely it's going to be worthy of reading, something fun. All right, Avatar is a Dungeons and Dragons comic. It's got a lot of damage here, but I think this is honestly not from water, but maybe from glue, because a lot of comic books from that period, they were trying to do square bounds, but they weren't doing a great job of it. Yeah, I've seen comic books like this quite often from this time period. And the insides look completely impetuous. I mean, they look fine. I don't see anything wrong, no damage. I mean, it looks like this comic book has honestly never been opened or read. Once I get finished reading it, it's probably going to fall apart, unfortunately. Here's a comic book that I'm pretty sure he threw in there for free, because I said something about it in one of his previous things, and he's probably comes across these like a dime a dozen. I actually have never found one of these in the wild, which is like, wow. I don't know how I missed this back in the day. I did see advertisements for inside the comic books, but it must be one of those things they gave you at schools or something. I'd really, there's no price on it. So if you had this back in the 80s, can you at least tell me how you got a hold of it? Like, did they come to the schools and give these out? Because in 1984, I was in high school, or actually, I was on the verge of going from middle school to high school. So I don't know if they just said, well, this is for little kids. Although I enjoyed Power Pack, I thought it was very fun reading. I got on there at the very beginning of it and then kind of dropped off after, like, I want to say 20 issues or so. All right, Star Trek was something I was not interested in the time it came out. I did like Next Generation only about after I got to watch like about, I don't know, second or third season. Whenever it was the episode where Geordi LaForge was working with somebody on a planet and they had a perfect population, and he said, oh, and it was also, the main thing that got me into this is I was taking physics, and they were talking about, amplitude and waves and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what we just learned in class today. This is fantastic. It's like an application of what we learned. But I didn't really, when he was talking to the woman about, so on your planet, I would never be born because of my abnormality. She's like, well, yes. He's like, you, what? She just kind of was callous about it. He's like, so you get to decide who lives and dies. And I thought, that's so pro-life. I love it. Now before you say, well, I know Star Trek covered social issues from both perspectives, and they handled it very well. Unlike today, where they're constantly making it a one-sided attempt to make everyone, half the continent, feel bad about being who they are. All right. They even covered a few issues, like whenever the Doctor was in a love affair with a guy who was a Trillian, kind of like Dax was. I think it was from the same race. Well, he had something happen to his host, went to surgery, changed to a female host, and started showing the same affections for her. She's like, I'm sorry, but I just can't accept you. She didn't say, it was handled very tastefully in the way that, some people can't accept it. And there's nothing wrong with them not being able to accept it. If that was done today, it'd be like, oh, you're bad for not accepting it. You need to accept it. You have to accept it. So I love how Star Trek Next Generation did handle issues from a perspective on both sides, and it came out making both sides look like, hey, look, you both have legitimate claims to your belief system. All right? And we do live in a world together, And just because she can no longer feel the love and attraction toward that person that she used to feel doesn't make her a bad person. I feel like in modern day settings that would have been changed and she would be made to look like a bad person. But you know what I'm saying? That's just my comprehension of modern stuff. I've gotten tired of watching modern stuff. So back to Star Trek. Reading it over the last few years, I had the first 16 issues and I gave them to a friend. Unless they're here somewhere and I can't find them, but I gave them a lot of stuff and I was like, you know what? You'll enjoy these Star Treks, and I may never complete this selection. So I'm trying to go back and complete the Star Trek Series 1 and Series 2 from DC, and hopefully get the few that are like, I think it's 18 issues from Marvel around 1980. But I definitely love these because it has a lot of the foundation of what went into Star Trek The Next Generation. You have a Klingon serving with the Star Trek universe, which was not even heard of at the time. You also have the separation of the saucer section in the Enterprise that they used in the comic book. Those were concepts that were later put into the TV series The Next Generation. So I had a lot of fun reading the first 16 issues, and then finding more issues of it, it just became an impossibility. So now I'm trying to get as many as I can, hopefully get the whole collection and enjoy. I highly recommend picking up this collection for yourself, but just don't pick it up from where I'm going to get it from, hopefully. And I had this comic book when I was a kid. I thought it was kind of cool that there was an alternate universe where men, there was another comic book when I was a kid where all the men superheroes were women superheroes on this planet, like Batwoman, instead of Supergirl, it's Superboy, which not the same Superboy you're thinking of. And that was one issue that had him on the cover losing his mind while the superheroes were flying around him. I feel like this was a successor to that, or like, oh, we were back at that planet again. But guys, we have Superwoman, Lex Luthor, or probably Alexa Luthor. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'm definitely interested in, look at that punky 80s outfit right there. That's cool. I'm definitely interested in rereading this one from a new perspective of being an adult, because I did read this as a kid and I did enjoy it from being an 8. God, that was actually 15. All right, for some weird reason, my brain is thinking I was like 10 when I got this, but no, I must have been 15 when I got it at least, if it's late 1985. So this one was signed by the artist Crees, so that makes it even more valuable. And I definitely want to read it again from a modern perspective. It's a big issue, so it'll take me at least 30 minutes, maybe an hour. This is one that I feel like I have this issue, and once again, I haven't checked any of these, and I need to check them. But I feel like I don't have the cover on mine because I don't remember this cover. But I have almost all of these, if not all, the Superboy or starring the Legion and the Legion. I definitely read a lot of these when I was a kid. Not going back to the starring, I had like maybe a few of them. I definitely remember this one where it was like a picture, 2 pictures here. So it was kind of like the first 6 issues of the Legion of Superheroes, the like sub volume. It mostly was actually reprinting the adventure comics, some of those things. So but Legion of Superheroes, I definitely read it, especially when the Superboy is flying off the front cover and leaving it as changing it from Superboy and the Legion to just Legion. So huge part of my childhood. And here we have another Star Trek comic, but this is actually from the Marvel series number 10. So it doesn't have a cover. There's some things where somebody else obviously hungry and took a bite out of it. But I think for the most part, this is intact and definitely worth a reading. It's going to be a different take than the DC ones, but anytime you read a Star Trek comic book, it's normally a really good experience, normally. And then I have a cracked comic book or magazine without the cover. There's going to be some fun things in here. This is one of those things that, even if it's missing a page or two, if I don't have a clue if it is, you're not going to be missing too much. Like, here's some comics that I would have jumped to when I was a kid right away. I have like these little one-panel things. There's a guy surfing on top of a bomb. Ha 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 ha, that's so funny. These are called one-shots. There's the knife-throwing guy. And I'm not sure what's going on there. Oh, the nearsighted, the great. Yeah, he's nearsighted. Now I get it. So he's nearsighted. He keeps throwing daggers, but he's obviously throwing it at the audience. Here's some deer hunting humans. World's fastest human race. And the cameraman's actually faster. That's the irony. A boy's shooting off a rocket. The woman's throwing trash on him. We got a guy who's throwing double ball with the thing in the middle. That's, hilarious. Yeah. We got Mr. Cape, fashions for the Cape conscience. Batman is going, nope, not cool. We also have a guy, we got a caveman butcher. We got two buzzards with their, bibs on. Barton Rover Jiffy Pizza delivery, and then Blur Quickie Pizza delivery. Why they're hanging their pizzas out the windows, I don't quite get that part. And we got some guy hanging out his, and I was like, I didn't see, okay, I just saw this much. I was like, oh, he's just hanging out underneath his patio. No, he's on a plane, which would mean it'd be really quickly drying. Probably lots of bugs in it. And the hydraulic lift. You ever had a fear that was going to happen to your car? Pretty good. And then we have some guys putting out a fire. Oh, no. They're using a flamethrower while they're, oh, I see. Okay. So these are like Boy Scouts doing the little rub with the wood, trying to make fire. And they're like, these kids are like, yeah, let's just use a flamethrower. That would have been me. Slingshotting. Oh my gosh, the newspapers. Yeah, that's clever, but obviously you're doing more damage than good there. So yeah, some of these are funny and some of them, that's just the nature of reading these magazines. Sometimes the humor is going to get you, sometimes it's not. It's hit and miss. So let me know. Oh, Alien, Mars will rule. This is before, wait, what year is this? Cracked? Published monthly, April, June. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I don't. Probably it's right here under my nose. To 1988, 30s. So it's a 1980 edition. The number is still eluding me, but I'm not going to waste any more time on that. Thanks for spending this time with me right now, and let me know which one is your favorite out of all the things that I got this week. And if you want to see the full unpacking, there is a live video for me unpacking it. It's got everything, which is about 4 times as much as I've shown today. But this is what I figured that I wanted to pick out my favorite of all of these. And the ones that I'm definitely going to put in my PC, and the other ones I'm going to have to inspect them a little bit more closely to see if they are complete. Because I looked at these and they look fairly complete, except for some covers here and there. And then this one is probably the worst, but once I put it inside of a bag, I still preserve that beautiful Terrax art. The cover still looks great, even though the logo is being destroyed and we got doggy ears. It looks like it's going from it, like steps down a stairway to heaven or something, whatever. But thank you so much for spending time with me today. Have a great Saturday.